Hi guys, so it's me, Editing Lucas. I just wanted to jump in beforehand to tell you that I didn't edit this video as heavily as I usually do, except for this part, and I hope you enjoy it anyways and don't find it too boring. So let's jump in. I wanted to try a new approach to my painting process. Usually I begin with a pre-established sketch and then paint on top of the sketch using it as a guide. This time I wanted to jump right into the painting with the colors, putting down specks, blotches and stripes of colors to almost sculpt my way to success with the help of these colors. I do put down basic guidelines that help me decide the direction of my paint strokes and how one spot should lay and curve, but other than that I kind of just went for it. Don't get me wrong, I beforehand made several sketches in my sketchbook with pencil, trying to get composition, proportions, and ideas completely right. And of course, digital painting isn't like actual painting. You can't get those natural paint strokes and marks which a usual brush would create on their own. And in my experience, I also can't quite recreate the natural mixing of paints. Yet I try to get close to that aspect and modify the way I use the brushes given to me. For the skin color, I mixed a roughly estimated orange tone that is already similar to the skin tone I wanted to reach, yet it does tend to reach for more red hues. Then I added a speck of sky blue and a touch of red that will lend to the redness of the skin. As well as shifting the colder tone in certain areas, I shift to more vibrant and reddish colors, such as in the hands and fingertips, as well as the elbows, knees, feet, cheeks, and the behinds. I consider them as the corners of the body. These are also the bending points of our body and tend to be red or have a more reddish tone to them. I exaggerate these slight shifts in tones to emphasize these features. One specific area that I fascinated myself with was the knee of the figure in the upper right corner, creating this watercolor effect. It really sticks out of the image and I'm not really mad at that. Besides that knee, the hands also seem to come naturally to me, unlike they usually do. Specifically, the hand draped across the middle figure's lap impressed me. For the darker areas, and more specifically the shadow portions, I added more brown tones, and generally just go darker. Yet, that changes and I go colder with the colors in the shadows, turning them almost blue. For the transition line between shadow and light, I mixed in a magenta tone that made the skin look more alive. A big difficulty was deciding where to go harsher with the shadows, and where to lighten up due to the 3 light sources I decided to give each figure. Also, looking closely at the shadow parts, they don't end in the darkest shade, rather lighten up again with a slight touch of blue. It's interesting though, if you look at my color picker in the top right hand corner, I usually don't directly pick from blue colors, rather go further the direction of the undertone I'm trying to recreate, and shift the color further into the gray, making it seem like blue color, yet not actually using one. During the full duration of this piece, I kept on color picking from other areas on the painting, and referring more to the colors established on this piece already instead of my color picker in the corner. For any other elements in this drawing, I used the same method, taking colors directly from one shadow to apply to another shadow. The only aspect I added to refer mostly to my color picker was the hair, due to its tendency to the primary colors and their vibrancy. The faces were left very bland and simple, as they didn't hold that much of a significance to me, and seemed to distract when I added more detail and depth. So I decided to tone them down enough you could recognize them, and that they wouldn't drown beside all the other more vibrant areas. I as well strategically placed the remaining elements in positions so they added to the overall composition, but also to cover up certain areas that I can't show on most platforms. Either it be a beak of a bird or a bend on a branch, they all were placed to cover up certain areas. I specifically struggled with things and creatures I wanted to add to the composition, wanting to incorporate symbolism and composition. After trying out multiple different approaches and ideas, I landed on these specific ones, and I'm glad I stuck with them. There were thoughts of snakes, water surfaces, these paper chains that look like little people we made as children, and many more and diverse ideas. Whilst we have the time, I wanted to talk about falling in love, and falling back in love with the process and activity of painting. Every artist knows and probably has experienced art block once or twice in their life. I've personally seen countless videos of people giving tips and tricks to get rid of art block or find their way out of art block, but none really have worked for me. I also love the relatability many artists have with ghosting one's account, it being to art block or other aspects, but totally ignoring and abandoning the art and art account for several weeks or even months on end to just come back out of nowhere with 3 new fully completed paintings. Me, personally, has had art block for way too long now. I did produce a painting or illustration here and there, but it definitely never was fully committed to. I either forced myself to create them or was asked and tasked to illustrate certain posters. Now, this topic isn't a foreign one. Yet, I tend to mention it almost every video, due to its chokehold on my life. The last year especially, I had the biggest and hardest art block of my life, and it really tore me down. I didn't feel like making art, or even looking at art. It made me distant and just unmotivated to do anything really. But after getting out of school and the immense stress that consistently rested upon all of us students, I've slowly recovered and have fallen back in love with the process, because I never fell out of love with the result or the idea of being an artist, but I fell out of love with the process. I used to be able to draw hours on end without a break, though that changed over time to a point where I could only stand to draw for 10 to 20 minutes at a time and then taking hour-long breaks doing everything but art. Slowly but surely, I've been able to extend these time pockets and decrease my breaks in amounts and length. This definitely helps me commit to a painting I'm making and ends with improved results. Now, I never thought I'd get out of this art block, but I've even just recently finished and filled a sketchbook of mine in which I've been working on for over a year now. So all I can say is that it does get better. Of course, granted, I don't have any stress currently on me, though I still believe stress wasn't the only reason. At this time, I just fully enjoy the process as well, loving each and every stage, even the ugly stage of a painting. I used to be scared to continue and tended to give up on many paintings due to the fear. Although that fear isn't fully gone, I'm now able to overcome it and actually finish most pieces. Now, not every piece is meant to be finished. I have loads that are just practice or sketches that didn't work out, yet brought me further in my art journey with it being good practice. I even have a few pages in my sketchbook where I just went crazy and scribbled all over it with a pen to just get out that anger and that frustration with a painting not working, and it really helped. And at the end of the day, a sketchbook is meant to be ugly. I'm sorry, but it truly is meant to be ugly. It's supposed to contain all the practice and all the things you do to help you improve. So there is no point in making it beautiful if you don't actually learn out of it. All this to say, don't worry about art block. It's natural and it will come from time to time. Yet it does get better and you'll come out of it more artistic, creative, and most of all, more motivated, which I really needed. Besides all that, I've also been preparing a portfolio to apply to different art schools and art colleges so I can get my bachelor in arts, because that's my final goal for now. And that definitely is kind of a big pressure point on me, yet I don't take it too seriously because art is supposed to be fun. I don't want to make it a chore. I don't want to make it something I need to do, which is why I'm giving myself time and grace when I'm creating art. It's not a process that will come like a math problem. It's something natural and you can't really control its flow. So of course, yes, it's pressure to create art and create art in a specific amount of time, but I don't stress myself too much anymore. I just give myself that time and actually allow myself to make mistakes, but also just allow myself to let those mistakes within the paintings so they have more character or more life to them. So mistakes necessarily don't have to be bad. They can also improve your art and how you look at your art and actually like your art even more. This is also a little random, but I also find it quite sad, and this might only be on my end, but it seems like the art community, especially on YouTube, has been kind of going down again. It has lost a bit of popularity. Of course, there's still artists out there that do a lot of art and a lot of people watch it, but I think many smaller creators are struggling currently to actually get headway and build a following, me included, which is a little sad to me because I think art enriches our lives so much. Yes, we need maths and IT and stuff currently more in our lives, but art just makes life worth living in my eyes. It enriches our view of the world and gives us new ideas in so many ways. I think maths and IT and other subjects, as well as just such as politics, can do. Inspiration is almost everywhere. I mean, you can look out your window and just find a tree you really enjoy, and that can spark a million different ideas. It's truly endless. I, for example, was recently just walking through the city and I saw this little, I don't know really what kind of container it was, but it was this small container sitting beside a trash can, and I had a full image in my head out of nowhere, and I found that inspirational. I don't know why. It really didn't have any meaning behind it, but it still motivated me to draw, and it gave me an idea of what to draw. And I'm also a big people watcher. I'll sit in a cafe for hours eating and drawing, but also watching people, how they walk, how they interact with other people, how they look. And yes, sometimes I stare, and I'm very sorry for that. If you ever catch me staring, I'm very sorry. I'm just admiring all the shapes and forms you have. Because I'm an artist, I look at everything like an art piece. So inspiration is out there everywhere, and that's why I think art is so important, because many people will also relate to that art and it can build community. Now, I've been rambling for a few minutes now over random topics, but I did think it was important to talk about it, but I'll let you finish this video with some nice music and a bit more talking at the end. So enjoy. The painting is split into 3 characters: the past, the present, and the future. Translating this into the painting, I intended to portray the same character in 3 stages of their life. The child, so the past self, in the bottom left-hand corner, entangled with the young adult or present self, who is comforted by the adult and elderly future self. The child, our past, is placed in the bottom left. It's our foundation of who we inevitably become. It's the experiences, traumas, and memories that shape the person that develops in the future. Our past can define us, though it is important to mention that it doesn't have to, yet in most cases they do. Some describe this idea as our younger self seeking comfort in our present self. Thus, the figure is entangled with the present self, looking for comfort. The relationship between present and past resembles one of a mother and the daughter. The daughter's head lying in her mother's lap, eyes closed and ultimately seeking love and comfort. The blonde hair ties back to the idea and symbolism of the color yellow. It reflects the naivety, happiness, carefreeness we had as a child. No responsibilities or chores that plagued our present selves. It's innocence and childhood freedom that shine through. The young adult, our present, takes the place of the focal point in this painting. We can only live in the present. We can look back at the past and hope and dream of the future, though the only certainty we have is the present. The present still keeps on trying to mend and comfort the past, the traumas and the memories that plague one's mind, letting the past lay its head on its lap and stop them from moving further. Their hand rests upon the past's shoulder, giving them security and a helping hand. Their other hand holds out to their heart. They want to protect and follow. The head tilted to the skies, reaching for the future and the dreams they have set out for themselves. Red hair sprouting from the scalp, embodying passion, love, and anger. The child isn't the only one seeking comfort. The unknowing of the future creates fear and uncertainty, so we form dreams and hopes that calm our minds. The adult, our future, projects these hopes and dreams. Its relationship to the present resembling one of a friend or a partner and their equal. Their head lays upon the other, comforting them and giving them once more that seeked out security. Their hand resting upon the shoulder reassuringly and lending support. Their face partially buried in the present as the future is happening now, but at the same time is uncertain and far away. Now, blue hair swaying in the wind, as it represents the self-assurance, bravery, and confidence one has for their future. Looking closely, you'll see the primary colors taking a hold of the concept. They are the groundwork of every other color, thus reflecting past, present, and future as the baseline of time. Each color holding a unique meaning as each time holds a unique memory. The character isn't the only symbol I decided to add. The painting seemed too empty to me, so I added a stork flying freely, able to build an impressive nest and home for oneself and their children. Also, the idea of a stork bringing children to parents' front doors, its foot holding onto a cloth that carries a limb from the child, emphasizing the idea of the figure at the bottom being a child. A branch with lemons, something new blooming, yet its roots are still firmly planted in its origins, the seeds they stem from. The white cloth hanging in its midst, remembering they once were children, but now have grown up. The lemons appearing to be sweet from the outside, like how our lives might seem sweet at first to others, yet a sour center, traumas hiding beneath its surface. Lastly, a baby bird, being free and full of color, similar to how children see the world, so vibrant, yet small and fragile, impacted by any and everything around them. And with my signature, we're all done. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next week.